Hi, my name is Diela Aristil, and I chose topic number 2 on the Dalai Lama speech as my topic for this reflection video. First, I'm going to start off by explaining the differences between positive and Buddhist psychology, and then I will go on to explain the speech. Positive psychology. What is it? Positive psychology is one of the newest forms of psychology to this day. This specific area of psychology focuses on how to help people, as in human beings, develop meaningful and fulfilling lives. All in all, positive psychology basically equals internal happiness. Buddhist psychology is obviously stemmed from the religion Buddhism. Buddhism is one of the major Eastern world religions. The name comes from Buddha, meaning the awakened one. The religion spread throughout Asia and became the dominant religion of the continent. Buddhist psychology is basically the psychology based on the teachings of Buddhism. This includes the experience of human suffering and the nature of experience, which includes the experience of the self. It emphasizes continued growth on an individual's own action and choice. The psychological characteristics includes wisdom, love, power, imagination, and understanding. Unhealthy parents. Maslow's need hierarchy theory opened the door for positive psychology. His theory basically stated that there are lower level needs that need to be met before one can reach the higher level need, which is self-actualization. Children who were raised by unfit parents lack majority of the lower level needs, which includes food, shelter, most importantly, the love. Since they did not receive such needs, later in life these children become self-centered and they lack proper morality that they need in adulthood. Parents having unhealthy relationships with their child leads to many psychological development later in life, as stated before. It will negatively affect their well-being and lead to suffering. The Four Noble Truths, what I will explain later on. The Dalai Lama states in his speech that children who have unhealthy parents have more chances of mental problems and difficulties living their lives when jealousy and anger is involved. According to the textbook, anger is associated with people who has had early negative experiences in their lives. Anger decreases when a person let their sense of self expand to include compassion with others. From the Dalai Lama's point of view, these children have difficulty communicating with others and becomes very self-centered. They also tend to be lonely and depression and be depressed, and they also have anxiety issues. The Four Noble Truths. They're basically the foundation of Buddhism. They consist of the truth of suffering, the truth of the origin of suffering, the truth of cessation of suffering, and the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. The Four Noble Truths are the basic foundation of Buddhism, as I stated. The truth of suffering is states that the suffering itself comes in many different forms. And the underlying truth of suffering is that even when we are not suffering from outward causes like illnesses, we are still unfulfilled and unsatisfied. The origin of suffering, the Buddha believes that the desire is the root of all suffering. The three ultimate causes of suffering include greed, desire, ignorance, and hatred. Next, we have the third noble truth, which is the end of suffering. Buddha taught that the way to diminish this desire, which is the root of suffering, is to liberate one from attachment. The final noble truth, which is the path that frees us from suffering, is basically a prescription for the termination of suffering. To achieve this end of suffering, the Buddha divides the process into 8 steps that are to support and to reinforce each other, not to exactly be taken in order. Overview of the Dalai Lama speech. The Seeds of Love and Compassion speech given by the Dalai Lama explains the basic foundation for happiness and success in children's lives. He states that children's survival needs depends on others, but most importantly, their mothers. The Dalai Lama points out that newborns' first happy experience with life is obviously when the mother provides and cares for them. He briefly states that money should not be a factor because he himself did not come from the best upbringing. He was not wealthy, but his family did have the love and compassion He rarely seen a negative facial expression on his mother's face. Every child that the mother came in contact with, she showed the same love and the same compassion that she would show her own children. He says that the maximum affection from our parents in early life will make more secure, happier, and stable lives. Comparison number 1. Adler's theory states that children have a need to belong, and they engage in purposeful and goal-oriented behavior to that end. As a mom, your job is to encourage your child to take responsibility for their behavior and to teach them to respect themselves and others. The Dalai Lama also agrees. He believes that parents, most importantly mothers, play a major role in child's development, and the mother has to nurture the child into being respectful by showing the child how to be respectful at an early age. Comparison number 2. Erikson's theory. Erikson emphasizes social interaction, culture, and trust. He also says that in healthy development, there is a large ratio of strength than of weakness. Strengths develop in relationship with significant people, for example, their mother and their parents. The Dalai Lama spends majority of his speech speaking on how compassion is important for parents to portray so that their children get the sense of secureness and feelings of being wanted and loved by them. Once they get that need from their parents, children develop a great social life and interact well with others. They're the opposite of being lonely, depressed, into themselves, and self-centered. Comparison number 3, the biological theories. This theory states that the great number of relatives involved in raising a child is the greater the chance of survival. Dalai Lama says in a speech that a child raised in a compassionate environment will obviously become happier and have a healthier adulthood. In conclusion, the Dalai Lama's speech compares to many of the theories that we have discussed throughout the semester in class. The topics he touched based on should be something every mother focuses on when planning to have a family. Dalai Lama was raised never to frown on his mother. The Dalai Lama was raised never seeing a frown on his mother's face, and she made sure to spread her compassion not only to him but to the neighboring children. That's something every child needs for proper development into adulthood. And I also added a quote, "Compassion is a key element to grow emotionally healthy and happy, Dalai Lama." And here are my references. That's it for my speech. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you.